All right. Hello, everybody. How are we doing today? It's very late, at least for me, on my jet-lagged long travel schedule. So hopefully we're all awake. I won't take up too much of your time today. This is going to be an informal talk, even for me, which is saying something. But for those that don't know me, my name is Phil, and I am appearing here before you today in my capacity as a pastor at the Church of Privacy. So, welcome to the Church of Privacy. We have a beautiful mega church stage here for you tonight. Uh, yes, yes, let's shake out our bodies, everybody. Shake out your body and shout if you love privacy. Woo! We love privacy. Privacy is a human right. In Roman Storm's name, we pray. How many people know that actually his trial is concluding this week or sometime very soon? Okay, if you're not raising your hand, I'm ashamed of you. So please self-reflect on that. So it's a very important time for privacy. So I really only have a few things to say to you here today in terms of what we can all do in this room to advance kind of the cause of privacy in crypto. So the first thing I have to say is that I think we have a really big opportunity in the cryptocurrency space that goes beyond things like DeFi or financial apps or gambling or all these things that we all love so much. And that is in this space of privacy. So one thing that I've always found to be like a human tragedy is the fact that we bungle privacy so badly. So we all just yelled and shouted, or at least half of us did, that like privacy is pretty important to us. What is the best we can actually do for privacy? Well, commonly, if you talk to people who care about this thing, they'll say something like, use Signal, use Tor, use these magical software solutions that good technologists in Silicon Valley and elsewhere have created for us. So let's actually think about these two things for a second. Use Signal. What is Signal? Signal, in my view, is a government backdoor, a Fed honeypot, whatever you want to call it, associated in that domain. Please don't tweet that. I'm already blocked by Moxie. He just recently unblocked me for having this opinion. Um, why is that? Because when you talk on Signal, all of your metadata, so who you're talking to, how long your messages are, how often, what time you're sending them, when your phone is online checking for messages, what attachments you're receiving, the size of the attachments, what group chats you're in, etc. These are all kind of fully known to the centralized Signal project. And the centralized Signal project is a regulated foundation that exists and operates out of the United States. So for anyone who believes that their Signal chats are really secure, I'll point to General Michael Hayden of the NSA, who has a famous quote from about 15 years ago where he said, "We kill people based off metadata alone." And all of the metadata in Signal is on a single server to be collected. So that doesn't sound great for something like crypto where the stakes are even higher, right? The best we've kind of managed to do in the real world is clearly not good enough. That's at least my opinion. All right, maybe Tor is better. Let's look at Tor. Tor is so cypherpunk. It's cool. It's the deep web. It's the dark net, right? And this is where we go to buy all our drugs. And well, not us, of course. We're here at SBC. We're all scientists. We would never. So anyway, Tor. Well, Tor, yes, Tor does provide you some degree of obfuscation. It's actually a very clever project. And the way it does that is through what's called onion routing. So you pick a set of servers from this pool of servers, and you take some path that you randomly select through these servers, and you kind of layer your message. So each hop can only decrypt that next layer and pass it on. So unless an adversary has compromised your whole path, they're not able to kind of fully unwrap what you're trying to do. And at some point, some node that they're not able to control or see is going to actually perform that service of hiding your thing and giving you that sweet, sweet privacy that we really love here at the Church of Privacy. So it's great, right? Wonderful. Well, not really. So there's a few pretty serious privacy problems with Tor that actually end up quite impactful. One of them is the fact that this pool of servers can pretty easily be poisoned. This is a volunteer pool of servers. Has anyone here ever actually run a Tor node or exit node? Let me see hands. Oh, we have a few. Wonderful. Do any of those people still run that today? Raise hands. Nobody. Okay, me too. Same. Right? It's a very, very legally risky thing to be mixing kind of the most noxious and often disagreeable traffic in the Web 2 domain. It's a very thankless job as well. Again, there's no reward for this. It's a volunteer-based network. So it turns out this pool is actually quite fragile and quite easy to poison, and we see that in kind of address space attacks on hidden servers, other kind of infrastructure level attacks on Tor. Carnegie Mellon had an attack just around a decade ago that they did for about $1 million. That's theorized to have been involved in de-anonymizing the Silk Road and drying up all our supply, at least for a few weeks. What a tragedy. So Tor is not that great for poisoning attacks. It's also not that great for global passive adversaries. So if someone who can see a lot of the traffic that's actually going over the entire substrate, over the entire internet, can watch these packets as they flow through the random routes. And because you're doing interactive back and forth web traffic, these profiles and these fingerprints actually become quite distinct. So if you're able to observe a substantial portion of the nodes in the Tor network, you can actually break anonymity fairly efficiently. Who's good at that? Well, for one, the US government, right? They have all those undersea taps and stuff. So the best we've managed to do for privacy in the real world, it sucks ass. I'm sorry. It's not good enough for the Church of Privacy. I'm not going to worship the holy doctrine of Tor. I'm not going to read the Bible of Signal. We really need something better than that I can preach here to you and really, really believe in. Believe in the privacy that I'm giving you. Because unlike the people who write Signal, I'm not willing to sell people false privacy. I consider that unethical, dangerous, and tantamount to basically putting people's lives in danger, right? Okay, so what can we do about this as crypto? Well, this is kind of the framing of my talk, the title. It's that we need unconditional privacy. What does unconditional privacy mean? Unconditional privacy means privacy without assumptions. So we need to break back as many of the assumptions as possible that we've enjoyed in the past and create systems that really prioritize privacy over every single other aspect and every single other dimension, because this is what the world actually needs, right? We just yelled, yes, we need privacy. We don't have it in Tor. We don't have it in Signal. Let's fucking build it in crypto already because we actually need it, right? So why do I think this is an opportunity? Well, for one, privacy in crypto is financially valuable. So MEV is a sense where information is money, information is arbitrage, information goes into blocks and all of these processes. Information is the currency of these networks. And so the demand for privacy is very real, very direct, and it's not sketchy. It's not someone trying to buy drugs. It's someone trying not to get arbitraged, someone trying to get a good price for what they're selling, or be treated fairly when they're trying to buy something or vote in a system or etc. So this is not kind of noxious traffic. This is traffic that needs privacy for very good and very quantifiable reasons. So the demand is there, okay? The supply is also there. So my troll is that my troll hypothesis, and I want you all to prove me wrong throughout this week, throughout the month, throughout the year, and the decade, is that we can actually get to a place of privacy with no assumptions. So my favorite pet systems are called DC nets. Those are based on shared secrets. They give you full, unconditional information theoretic privacy. You don't even need cryptography, at least at the most simple version of these protocols. And then from there, you can layer assumptions. So I think this level of truly assumption-free, unconditional privacy is possible in crypto. I think our demands fit into these models. I think we should build it. We should build something that's much more secure than Tor, much more private than Signal, and kind of lead the world in the type of privacy that we offer. I think things like inclusion lists and consensus-based censorship resistance are mere patches. They're not stable in the face of state actors who can see network traffic, who can censor networks. We need to put the whole stack underground, and it's time for Ethereum to go dark. DC nets are the key. Okay, one last thing I'll say. So you might think DC nets are very inefficient. We want to use these shuffle protocols. We want to use some other thing. That's true, and that's why this is trolling. Let us try to do things using the very inefficient but very assumption-free protocol. And if we need to put things into other protocols, other boxes, or relax our assumptions, let's really justify that rigorously by trying and failing for unconditional privacy first. So that is the goal. That's what we're doing at Flashbots. It's time for unconditional privacy. Can I get an amen? Amen. Thank you. That's all I have.
All right. Well, Phil, remain on stage. There may be questions. Oh, great.
So, first of all, I love the message. unconditional privacy, but I think the most constructive way to open up the conversation is to actually break down what types of privacy we're talking about whenever we mention privacy, because the information privacy, and information data communication privacy is very different than financial asset privacy. And I think oftentimes when we talk about these things, we kind of put them into the same category. We say privacy is normal, privacy is a human right, right? All of these things I don't think is moving the conversation forward. I think we need to actually open up the discussion on particular types of privacy. And I think in this case, right, Signal, Tor, it's on the realm of communication privacy. And when we talk about digital cash, kind of financial assets, that's a very, very different category. And we should have different approaches and different kind of frameworks, perhaps, at the end for these things.
Yeah, I mean, I mostly agree. I also disagree, so I'll troll you just a little bit in that I think there's actually a lot more overlap than people think between like communication and assets. One of the things I didn't talk about is I believe that anonymous broadcast and consensus are very much the same problem, especially in the blockchain setting where you have a total ordering, which you do need for MEV. And so, a lot of the protocols that at least back the assets and then you can, of course, layer things into the blockchain structure itself too, which we know how to do. So I think we do need different approaches for many different kind of parts of this problem, but there might be like also more overlap than people have in the past given credit for. Which is why I think actually consensus is a nice opportunity to also push communications privacy and asset privacy at the same time. Last thing I'll say is I think Vitalik has an interesting breakdown. At least last time I talked to him about this problem, I don't know how published it is, but I think it's pretty public at the, like kind of thinking about these different levels of privacy in different parts of the chain. So like a Zcash system versus like a Tor versus et cetera, et cetera. And I think that is important to just be thinking about.
Yeah, I believe Phil is referencing Vitalik's earlier this year published Ethereum's roadmap to privacy on ETH Magician.
Yep.
Hi. I have a quick question on just kind of how you make people aware that this is important. I feel like most of us are digitally native. I've grown up with a phone since I can remember, and we've almost been conditioned time and time again to accept lesser and lesser forms of privacy, and that's almost okay. Earlier today, there was a talk about how I have nothing to hide, and that's almost accepted as, an argument to accept surveillance. And so, beyond the realm of this room, how do you convince people that privacy is vital, at least to the extent that you're talking about it too?
Yeah, I mean, it's really, really hard. I mean, any security researcher will kind of vent about this forever. My honest answer, having like been thinking about this for a while, is just like patience. I think patience is a virtue many people in tech just don't have. And I think it's very hard to like take someone and like browbeat them into using some like complicated privacy thing. But eventually people are pretty smart and like they actually, in many parts of their life, do want this. And so usually something will happen that's like a catalyst for like either some subset of people or even like a broad society to kind of move to like a different system. One example being like TLS, when Google like just said like, look, it's causing all sorts of problems for us that no one's using it. We're just gonna pseudo this thing and like you use it or your listing's gonna be shit. Another example is Signal, where like it was built, it was advertised, and again, Signal's a backdoor, but they're still selling privacy, right? And then for a long time, it wasn't adopted. And then as, Snowden and as like various other things happened and more and more people started using it, like it has been gaining steam. And other messengers now use the technology, even if they don't directly compete on selling privacy. So it's all to say, like, most people probably won't care until they need to, because they actually do. They just don't care right now. And so rather than like saying like, why aren't these people coming to us? We need to like just wait for them. And I think it's fine personally, but maybe I'm wrong. One more and then I'm out of time. I'm going to pseudo myself. Yes.
Hi. So there were two main points that I have picked up on of, I guess, flaws with current anonymity systems. One is volunteer pools aren't very reliable for infrastructure like Tor. And then there's that global passive adversaries can read metadata such as packet timings or packet sizes and for a lot of information from that. It seems, at least for these 2 points, there's a lot of projects out there, like incentivized mixed nets that sort of claim to solve these problems. And I'm not sure if this is related to DC nets, but could you maybe talk about the difference between like existing incentivized mixed nets and DC nets?
Yeah, I mean, there's a convergence for sure. There is like a different set of assumptions and a different set of techniques for roughly solving the same problem, which is like we have like a set of people that might want to talk, and we want everyone to be able to talk like anonymously, in kind of the clear. So you can apply them to like very similar problem sets. Mixed nets use like cryptographic techniques to like actually obfuscate kind of each hop of mixing like anonymity into your kind of message. Um, it's a valid way to do it. It has its own trade-offs on like performance, collusion guarantees, liveness, etc. That also depend a lot on how you parameterize it. So I would say like with most privacy things, the devil is in the details, and like probably both of these things will be used in different places. I personally prefer DC nets because they're just aesthetically more pleasing in assumption, but I'm not religious enough that like if it's better to use a different technique for a use case, I wouldn't say like go for it. So I think the jury is still out. Like let a million privacy protocols bloom. That is why I'm doing this trolling, because I think we can handle this with less assumptions than mixed nets require. I want you to prove me wrong, or whoever else wants to, with some hard science.
Thank you.
Yep. Cool. Thanks, everyone.